Hey Swati, thank you for agreeing to do this. I really what I'm interested in, Swati, is to learn about your journey,
Hmm.
about how you went about solving your pain.
Hmm.
And I'm really interested to hear about what was holding you back, some obstacles.
And I was doing my routine strength training exercises, which I do online. And I did something odd while doing deadlifts, and I picked up my barbell in a weird way, like just felt the damage straight through. Something in my back just twisted. I was like in intense pain. It felt like jolts of pain, but this was different. So throughout the day, if I sat and I got up, I again felt like jolts of pain, and that continued no matter what I did. So sitting became really problematic. I couldn't sit.
Where was your pain at this
One
point?
thing was that it started at the left lower back. Yeah.
Okay.
But I felt it more pronounced on the left hip, and it's the pain signal was throughout the lower left leg onto the ankle as well. This was nothing I had before. I just
Yeah.
felt I'd never had any injuries on the legs or back. I felt until that point, I felt my back was pretty strong, to be honest. Within a week, I got an appointment with the chiro. I thought maybe I injured my spine. Like I went like for at least 2 or 3 months. Over time, it aggravated definitely a lot to the point that I couldn't sleep in the night.
Hmm.
And I consulted some physiotherapists and also my doctor, my medical provider as well. The exercises I think they gave me were too intense. They were more like glute strengthening and clamshells and things like that. That really made it worse. Like I did not feel any relief from the pain. So that's when I joined the program. I went deep dive. So I started doing your pain management routine, right? Those gentle
Pain
stretches.
pain
Yeah, pain
reduction.
relief. Yeah, pain reduction. Yes. And I felt relief in like 2, 3 weeks. It didn't reduce that much. I was still having issues sleeping, but if I would wake up and do those stretches, I would feel better to the point that I could sleep. Eventually, when we had those group sessions, they were very useful to outline and understand where the root cause was.
Yes, but it wasn't the group sessions that actually it was.
Exactly.
Yeah, so during these, so what you're talking about are the coaching calls that people can get.
Yes.
We just talk about and we test and we do all sorts of things.
Yeah.
But it you were just kind of plateauing. I kept giving
Yes.
you advice and things to work on, and it
Yeah.
would help a little bit, but it wasn't quite getting where we needed to go, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. And then I said, no, I should do more. So I did that one-on-one call with you. I think that was really, really useful because I didn't even know I had asymmetries, and I was always thinking that my right leg was stronger than my left because the pain was on the left side, but it was the opposite. So yes, that was very true.
Yeah. And so often, especially if there's chronic pain and you're not responding,
Yeah,
that that logic doesn't
yeah,
apply. We
yeah.
discovered.
Yes. But I did not think that to be honest, I 1 year ago, I was, I would have been thankful even if I could like walk rather than the things that I've been doing. So to come that far, it's really a huge testimonial of your expertise and your program. I never even thought I could do swimming or I could do bike riding back again or I could even jog. Like not too much, but a little bit. So
So, are you talking about before our call together? Is that what you mean?
yes,
Oh,
yes.
okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
My standards are a little bit higher than that
Yeah, I know.
because I remember every call, because your big thing was I keep
Yeah.
waking up with I can't sleep on my
Yes.
left side, was it? Was
Yes,
it?
left
Yeah.
side.
So you said, Rick, I really feel like I'm getting better. I said, can you sleep on your left side? And you said, no. I said, you're not better.
Yeah, my standards were really low. I was happy with okay, I can sleep through the night. That's tick one. I'm good. I can function through the day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's the other trap that a lot of people fall into is that they've learned to compensate and avoid the things that hurt them so much.
yeah,
And so they're fooled into thinking that they're actually better,
yes,
right? And it's not really the case. You've just gotten really good at avoiding your triggers.
So definitely.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So we had our call, and this, was a big eye-opening event for
Mhm.
you. Was it hard for you to wrap your mind around the fact that your problem was actually your right leg, not your left?
No, it came as a shock in that session. But I think and also, okay, that's something I need to focus on more proactively rather than just, going through the drills. So I think after that session, I was very mindful, even when I was doing the exercises that you had mentioned in the gym, and paying attention to my right leg, how it does those the leg presses, yes, as compared to the left side. So I think once that happened, and I did a little bit of strength routine based on your program, it just got a little easier from that point on.
Okay, so you were doing all of this strengthening. You were unaware of the right leg weakness. It was fairly significant.
That is true. That is so
Yeah,
true.
why do you think that was?
I guess I never was more attentive to, when I'm lifting weights and things like that, putting more stress on my left side. I never realized until that session with you.
Once we figured out it was your right side, did we trace that back to an older injury?
Yeah, I had a knee injury when I was a teenager, so I had broken my right knee while
Yeah,
doing judo. So I think
yes.
that, yeah, so it
And
did.
that was completely off your radar, because I remember asking you about previous injuries, and you're just like, no,
Yeah,
no
that happened.
previous injuries.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And you're not the only one. Person after person. I just interviewed someone with hip pain, and I
Mhm.
said, no previous injuries, none. And then as we talked more, she says, well, I did have sciatica many months before all of that. And I said,
Oh,
oh, so you had sciatica, but nothing beyond that. And as we talked more, she's just like, well, I've had back pain for years, you know?
oh,
Well, that counts.
yeah. I never thought so that it could be so that's what I'm saying. I never thought so that injury was causing my left side to be more stressed. I never knew that.
Yes. Didn't we find that your right leg felt about 50% weaker than your left?
At that time, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
this is the other interesting thing I wanted to bring out, is that it's not only your fault that you didn't recognize this. Your previous physical therapist and your
Mm.
chiropractor didn't pick that up, or your doctor
Yeah.
didn't pick that up either. None of them thought the problem must be with the left side if that's where you're having pain. And
Mm.
no one really ever thought to look on the other side.
Actually, surprisingly, I did mention that to the chiropractor that I had injured my right knee, but at that point, I didn't think it was related, and they certainly dismissed it.
Yeah. And so once you figured out that it was your right leg, I think we gave you a few things to work on. And how quickly did you start seeing results in your right leg strength?
Within 1 month, I would say the pain had reduced a lot, to the point I would be like in the night, I would feel the pain to some extent, but I could see through. But I kept doing your other stretches, like the hip strengthening ones and the thigh stretches and butt pumps. So I think all of that combined helped.
I mean, looking back at all of this, was there any particular idea or exercise, like, oh, when we honed in on that, like this exercise was the key to me getting hold of all of this? There was any idea or habit correction or
Yeah,
exercise that you?
lots. I think everything. So the walking, I had to like proactively think how I walk and standing as well. So sometimes when I would stand, I would definitely lock my knees, and definitely the right one would get locked. I have no idea why. So that was something that I had to put my mind to it so that I don't lock my knees. Walking also was like, okay, your ice skater walk, right? So that walk helped as well. Sitting as well. I think you had asked me to change how my, during work, how my monitor and my laptop is configured. So all of that happened. And I now realize that while I was sitting, I would fold my leg on the chair. So that certainly didn't help. So, and using like footrest, all those things. And plus, the most important thing I think was getting down to pick up something from the floor.
Neanderthal lunge? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And the left, um, the left side stretches.
May I comment on why I believe your right knee was locking more than your left?
Sure.
Because it was 50% weaker. And so it didn't have the strength not to lock.
Exactly. Now I think of it, it would automatically lock.
Yes.
Like even to the point that if I was walking for like more than 30 minutes, I would suddenly like feel, okay, my knee is just locking. So all that together is like, okay, eye opener.
Is there something that you wish you would have done differently than how you began finding your answers?
Yeah, I think I should have done that session, that one-on-one session way earlier. I think.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. After our talk, you were the third person who I went through those 10 functional tests with. And I realized, you know what? I have to include this in the home program for everyone because this is the key to people figuring out why they're having pain.
Exactly.
And then they'll understand. But I was wrong because I still have people who even do the 10 functional. And what's happening is they're not really paying attention to the answers. They believe that their left leg is the problem, so they ignore the answers that show that their right leg is the problem.
Oh,
Right? So it's really interesting. This is why I'm so interested in the psychology of how to break through. I just feel like people have biases about
yeah,
their own bodies
exactly. Exactly.
that all the things I gave you after our one-on-one session were already in the program,
Yeah.
right? So there was nothing new there. It was just that I showed you what to focus on and what to pay attention to,
So true.
and which is what those 10 functional tests are supposed to do. But
Yeah.
even with those, I think people's biases are getting in their way, and that's what I'd love to learn how to break through.
Mm.
Do you have any ideas about that?
I don't know what I could have done to, find that early. I have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm still looking for the secret. So I ask everyone,
Yeah.
why didn't you see this before?
Yeah.
And no one can give me a real answer. That's why I think it's this deep subconscious bias that we have,
Yeah.
that our painful side is our bad side.
So I did ask my medical provider for an X-ray, and they said I have a little left curvature of the spine. So that again threw me in a loop.
Likely, now that your pain is gone, I bet you that curvature is gone as well.
Ah, okay.
So a curvature, they're talking about a lateral curvature in the spine, right? And so in medicine, we call this scoliosis.
Okay.
But there's a functional scoliosis and there's a congenital scoliosis. And I made a video about this because a lot of people get confused and scared when they hear the word scoliosis.
Yeah.
So congenital means you're born with it and it's an S curve in the spine. But a functional scoliosis is a C scoliosis that's only happening in the lumbar area usually. And it just means that one side of the pelvis is higher and one side of the rib cage is lower, which creates the lateral curve. You had a left side bending problem. This is what I call a lateral scoliosis on one side, like this in this pattern. So you had a left side bending pattern because your right leg kept throwing it to the left and the left was breaking down. And there was no way for your brain to get off of that left side other than to hike up the left hip to get you off of that, which created the lateral curvature of your left spine.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does.
All right. So now that you can use your right leg,
Yeah.
that's not happening any longer. Do you periodically do that single leg standing test
I do.
to test your legs to make sure they're staying even? Okay.
From the chair. At least once. I try to do it at least once a week. So that
Okay, good. Yeah, it's good to stay on top of that because that right knee issue can creep up again, or the subconscious biases. So folks, if you're watching this, the single leg standing test that I'm talking about with Swati is in this video here. You can watch that and test yourself. And I can't remember, Swati, did we also find that your right calf and soleus muscles were tighter, or was it your left side? Did one side, left side was tighter? Okay.
It was very tight at one point. Yeah.
All right. And you feel like you've solved that too?
Yeah, no, I'm pretty happy. I mean, happy is not the word. I'm pretty thrilled with the recovery, but I think I still have some room to fix my injury because sometimes I do feel my ankle play up, and I can't trace it to my left ankle, and I can't
Yes.
trace it, but it's only if I've been walking a lot or exercising a lot, and it's very minor. It goes away as soon as I have had some rest and things like that. But right now, I'm very mindful of the way I use my back during workouts. So staying off those exercises that you had asked me to stay away definitely help the other minor, aches as well.
Okay, so speaking of your left ankle, so are you wearing the dorsal night splint?
And I didn't have to for a long time, but I think I should maybe periodically. I think I stopped wearing it about 3 months ago, but maybe I should try
It
again.
would be one of those things for you to, like the single leg standing test, just to
Mhm.
wear one night a week
Okay.
and then maybe one night every a couple weeks, and then maybe one night a month, just
I-
because that's a problem
yeah.
that has developed in you. It relates significantly to left foot and ankle pain. Uh,
Yes.
all right. And then the last other idea about that is you have access in the extra help video. There's a foot taping technique.
Yes. Yes.
And if you're going on a long walk, it would be interesting for you to do the foot taping technique
Okay.
to see if that gets rid of your pain.
I see. Okay.
All right. And so when the calf and soleus muscle is too tight, right, and you're walking and your knee needs to pass over the foot and ankle, if it's too tight, the calf and soleus restrict that.
Okay.
And so the force of you going forward is then driven down into the foot bones
I see.
because there are 26 foot bones down here,
Mm-hmm.
and those can absorb that force a lot easier. There's a lot more tissues to absorb that, but this may be where your pain is coming from on your long walks, is that your ankle is not bending well enough, and it's not bending well enough because of your calf and soleus tightness. What the taping of the foot will do is keep it off of the foot bones and throw it back up to the foot and ankle, or I'm sorry, to the ankle and calf.
I
And
see.
so if you find that your gait is restricted in some way because you've taped your foot and ankle,
Mm-hmm.
then it's saying more about your calf and soleus tightness as the culprit of all of this.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay, so you can play around with that idea.
No, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
the
right.
foot taping definitely helped.
So I'm curious, given all that we've talked about, my last question to you is, what would be your advice for others who are getting frustrated with trying to solve their pain,
Yeah.
who haven't found their answers yet? What would you say to people like that?
No, I think I was frustrated for a long time.
Yeah.
So I think the answer is like to just follow the program and follow it like diligently. At one point, I was doing your stretches 3 times a day, and that definitely helped. So, and those coaching calls, the group coaching calls also help because you can drill down to the specifics, and there are other people as well to help and advise as you progress. But those two things, like definitely the stretches, and once you get to the point of strength training through that program, that definitely helps. I think, yeah, I was sticking to your program like to the point.
Yeah.
That was definitely a reason for the recovery.
Okay. So what I really meant was, if someone hasn't purchased my program
Oh,
and is saying, I'm not this guy, no way do I believe any of this stuff. So let's say they're refusing to try my program. Do you have other recommendations other
oh,
than using my home program?
oh.
What would you say? Anything?
I think though, if they can, for sure, do the functional test, right? That
Well,
that
those 10 functional tests are in my program.
something else. I don't know.
However, I've dispersed a lot of those tests throughout my YouTube channel.
Oh,
So if
okay.
people peruse my YouTube channel, they can discover almost all of these problems.
Yeah. Yeah, there are other areas like your books and your YouTube subscription.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would help because that's how I started.
Oh,
That's
okay.
how I started looking into your YouTube and your website, so
Got it.
to get to
Okay.
your program. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
Well, Swati, do you have any other questions for me while you've got me here?
No, I don't. I just want to say thank you so much.
Oh,
Uh, so you've been a lifesaver because, yeah, it was really, really a very bad situation to be in, very debilitating, and I just can't explain the situation I was in. So it's good to have that freedom back. So
yeah.
thank
Well, thank you for being tenacious. I love
least
people
I
who
can
are
do.
tenacious. I'll never give up on people. So
Yeah. No,
as long as
that's
they don't give up on themselves,
exactly.
and that was exactly who you are. So I really admired that about you. And I just think you have a great story,
Yeah,
and I hope this helps other people too.
sure. The next thing is to get my husband.
So there was a lot of information that came through in that interview with Swati, and I just wanted to go over what I believe the mechanism of her injury was. So if you remember that when she was a teenager, she broke her right knee when she was doing judo. I do not know how that was rehabbed, and apparently the rehab was inadequate because her right leg over time became 50% weaker because she stopped using it. So what she ended up doing was transferring gradually her weight over to her left leg. If you remember, she went to her doctor who reported that she had a lateral curvature in her lumbar spine, which usually indicates that the left ilium became higher and the left rib cage became lower, creating a side bending problem, which creates a left curvature in the spine. This is what a functional scoliosis looks like. This occurred because the right leg was consistently underperforming up to 50% and overloading the left leg. And eventually the left leg started breaking down, and the brain subconsciously tried to get off of that breakdown by hiking the hip up to get off of that leg. Well, the muscles that hike the hip up attach to the rib cage. And so usually when the hip becomes hiked up, the rib cage gets pulled down, creating a left side bending problem. And Swati developed sciatic pain. Most people would think that the mechanism of injury was the deadlift. It's important to remember that if you have side bending to one direction of the spine, you have rotation to the opposite direction. So Swati had side bending to one side and rotation to the other, and then was doing a deadlift, likely repeatedly for months or years, and probably lifting heavy weights. She was quite strong. And so this has eventually hurt her spine and created sciatic pain going down the leg. This is one of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of deadlifts, because I think the cost to benefit ratio is too high. It's a popular exercise to do for a lot of people because they want to feel that they're strong. It's a big power move. However, a lot of people like Swati, and most of the people I help with chronic pain, are unaware of the asymmetries that have crept into their body over time. Swati was an avid exerciser, and she was unaware of a 50% reduction in strength of her right leg because subconsciously it was very easy for her to compensate for that by shifting her load over to the left leg, which gave the appearance that she was symmetrical in her strength. This is a critical idea as a take-home message for those of you wrestling with chronic pain, that there are likely older injuries that have crept into your body and created these subconscious asymmetries that then are repeatedly loaded that break down your body. Like Swati's previous practitioners, her chiropractor, her physical therapist, and her doctor, none of them even thought that the right leg might be the culprit. They all assumed it was the left leg that was the culprit. Well, the left leg was only responding to the forces that were acting on it from the right leg over time. I hope this was helpful for you, and thanks for watching.